The war between Earth and the Zorlan Empire had lasted 7 long years. Billions had died, humans, aliens, soldiers, civilians. Space was filled with wreckage. Peace seemed impossible. Captain James Reeve had seen too much of this war. It had fought on Mars, on Titan, and in the asteroid belt. His name was respected by both enemies and allies. But James did not feel proud. He was tired of fighting, tired of killing, tired of seeing friends die. One day he was called to the Earth Council on the space station Athena. The leaders of Earth sat at a long table with serious faces. Holograms of battles floated. Above them, Captain Reeve, the chairman, said, "We have received a message from Queen Zelendra of the Zorlons." James raised an eyebrow. "The Queen herself?" "Yes." The woman next to him nodded. "She wants peace, but under one condition." "What condition?" The lights dimmed. A hologram of Queen Zelendra appeared. She was tall, with dark purple skin, shining silver eyes, and long white hair. She wore a golden crown with sharp points and armor made of crystal. She looked strong, proud, and beautiful. "I, Queen Zelendra of Zorla," the hologram said, "I propose a royal union, a symbolic marriage with one human representative. This bond will end the war and unite our empires. If Earth agrees, I will personally sign the peace treaty. The war ends, starting immediately." The hologram vanished. Silence filled the room. James blinked. "She wants to marry a human." "Yes," said the chairman, "a marriage alliance. Symbolic only, no physical relationship required. And you want me to do it? You are the perfect candidate. You're a war hero. You have leadership, respect, and honor. The Zorlans know your name. If anyone can pull this off, it's you." James leaned back in his chair. "So, I marry an alien queen, pretend to, love her, and the war ends? It's not real marriage. Just ceremony," the chairman said. "But to them, it's important.
Oh.
Their culture, values, bonds, and oaths. They believe peace between rulers means peace between people," James thought. For a moment, his heart told him no. But his mind remembered the destroyed cities, lost lives, the children without homes. "I'll do it," he said quietly, "but I want it clear it's fake. No real relationship. It's just for peace." The leaders nodded, agreed. Later, James stood on a glowing platform inside a neutral space station, orbiting a dead moon. Hundreds of guests watched the event. Human generals, Zorlan priests, galactic media. Floating drones recorded every second. Queen Zelendra stood before him. Her armor had been replaced with a ceremonial dress. Made of starlight fabric, her silver eyes locked onto his. The Zorlan priests spoke in both languages. "By ancient rite and galactic vow, we unite two great empires through this sacred bond. Do you, Captain James Reeve of Earth, accept this unity for peace?" "I do," James said, his voice calm but distant. "And do you, Queen Zelendra, Zorla, accept this unity for peace?" "I do," she answered, with a voice full of strength and mystery. They touched hands. A glowing ring formed between them, made of energy and tradition. The crowd clapped. The peace treaty was signed seconds later. The war officially ended. Back in his temporary quarters, James took off his ceremonial suit and sat on the bed. He looked at the glowing ring on his finger. It wasn't real, just a Zorlan tradition like a holographic bond. There was a knock at the door. He opened it. Queen Zelendra stood there, alone. "May I come in?" she asked. "Of course," James replied, stepping aside. She walked in slowly, looking around the room. "This place is simple. I'm a soldier, not a king," I noticed, she said with a small smile. James poured her a glass of water. "You did well out there. The galaxy saw us unite." "Yes, but they did not see the truth." He paused. "What truth?" "That you do not believe in the bond," she said, sitting on the couch. "To you it was a trick, a performance. But to my people it is real." James sat across from her. "I made it clear to your council. I don't believe in fake marriages. I did it for peace. And peace we now have, Zalendra said softly. But I wonder, can peace last if the bond is not real? James was silent. She stood up and walked toward the door. I will not force you to feel anything, but remember this, Captain. Zorlan culture, marriage is not a game. It is a promise. Then she left. The next few days, the news spread across the galaxy. Headline said, Human hero marries alien queen, war ends overnight. New power couple unites to civilizations. From enemies to partners, hope for the future, James was invited to banquets, peace summits, and interviews. Everyone wanted to see the married couple. Zalendra was always graceful and calm. James smiled for the cameras, but inside he felt strange. He didn't hate her. In fact, she was intelligent, powerful, and cared deeply for her people. They were too different, too far apart. This was just duty. Or so he thought. One night during a quiet dinner in the Zorlan capital, Zalendra asked him, Tell me honestly, James, do you regret the bond? He looked at her for a long moment. No, he said finally. I don't regret saving lives, I just didn't expect you to be so human. She raised an eyebrow. I am not human. But you feel things. You have honor, pride, loyalty. That's more than I can say for many humans. She smiled. Perhaps we are not so different after all. But as peace spread across the galaxy, whispers also began. Not everyone was happy. Some Zorlan generals believed the queen had become weak by bonding with a human. Some human leaders believed James had betrayed his species. There were threats, rumors, plots. And in the center of it all stood two people joined by duty, separated by distance. Yet something had begun to grow between them. Not love. Not yet. But something dangerous. Respect and respect. James knew could turn into something much more. He looked out the window at the stars and wondered, was this just a fake marriage? Or had he just changed the galaxy, and his own future, forever? 3 months had passed since the wedding between Captain James Reeve and Queen Zalendra. The war was over. No more missiles flying through space. No more battles in cold vacuum. Peace had returned to Earth and Zorla. But even without war, peace was not easy. James now lived in the Zorlan capital city, Skaralan, a place of tall, crystal towers, floating bridges, and glowing trees that sang in the wind. He had been given an entire palace wing inside the royal fortress. Guards saluted him, servants bowed. But James never felt at home. He missed the smell of rain, the taste of real coffee, the sound of human laughter. Here, everything was beautiful. But alien. His role was to stay close to Queen Zalendra, attend political meetings, and be a symbol of unity. His marriage to her had stopped the war, but now he had to live the part. Every day, he stood beside her during speeches. Every night, they dined together. And though they shared a palace, they lived in separate rooms. Their marriage, as agreed, was fake. Or so he believed. One morning, James sat alone on a balcony, drinking Zorlan tea. The liquid was blue and tasted like mint and lightning. He stared at the stars above and thought about his old life, his ship, his squad, the noise of battle. He heard soft footsteps behind him. It was Zalendra. You were always awake early, she said, her voice calm. Old habit, James replied. Soldiers learn not to sleep too much. She nodded and sat beside him. The morning sky turned from black to deep purple. There is something I must tell you, she said. James looked at her, curious. In Zorlan law, she continued, marriage is not symbolic, it is real. When we made our vows, we became bound. He frowned. But I told your council it was just for show. I never signed any real contract. You did not need to. Your words in front of the priest, your touch, your oath, that was enough. James stood up, surprised. So you're saying we're actually married? Yes, she said. My people, you are now king consort of Zorla. He ran a hand through his hair. I never agreed to rule an empire. I never agreed to live my whole life here. You agreed to peace, she said quietly. He turned away, staring at the sky. Peace is one thing, but giving up my freedom, something else. Zalendra stood and walked to him. I understand this is hard, but this is the way of my people. You are not trapped. You may leave if you choose. But understand, if you leave, it will break the bond. That may break the peace. James stayed silent. The next day, James attended a council meeting with Zalendra and her advisors. Zorala nobles sat in high chairs, speaking in their musical language. James understood only parts, but the tension was clear. A general slammed his fist on the table. This human does not follow our traditions. He does not respect the bond. Another noble agreed. How can he be our king if he refuses to share her life fully? Zalendra raised her hand. Enough. James Reeve has honored our peace with loyalty and courage. He has risked his life for both worlds. James stood. I never asked to be king. I only asked for peace, but I won't be insulted. If I'm not welcome here, say it now. The room went silent. Zalendra looked at him. You are welcome. But you must decide what you want, James. To be a symbol or to be a partner. That night, James went for a walk through the royal gardens. The air was filled with the soft hum of glowing flowers. He saw a small group of Zoralan children chasing light bugs. They laughed and waved at him. Human King. One of them shouted. He smiled and waved back. Then he heard footsteps behind him. It was Loran, Zalendra's closest advisor. He was tall and calm with a sharp mind. You confuse the queen, Loran said. She does not know your heart. Shh! Looked at him, because I don't know it either. Loran nodded, and find it soon. Peace is not made by weapons. It is made by choices. You do not choose her fully, you may lose more than peace.
Oh.
The next week, James traveled with Zalendra to Earth for a joint diplomacy event.
Oh.
The Zoralan ship landed near the United Nations headquarters. Human leaders and citizens gathered to see them. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Captain Reeve, are you still loyal to Earth? Queen Zalendra, is this marriage truly real? James took a deep breath. We may come from different worlds, but we both want the same thing. Peace. That bond is stronger than blood. Zalendra looked at him, surprised, but pleased. Later, in private, she asked, Did you mean those words? I did, James said, but I'm still figuring out how deep they go. During their stay on Earth, James visited his old team. His best friend, Sergeant Leo, met him at a cafe. You really married her, huh? Leo laughed. The queen of the aliens? James shrugged. It started as a fake. Now, I don't even know. Leo leaned forward. Do you care about her? James was silent. You don't have to say it, Leo said. But I see it. You talk about her like she's already in your heart. James looked down. That's the problem. She might be. I'm scared what that means. After returning to Zorala, James walked into the Royal Observatory late at night. He found Zalendra there, looking at a map of the stars. I used to think I knew everything, she said. But since meeting you, I have had to question many things. James sat beside her. That makes two of us. They watched the stars together in silence. Then James spoke. If I stay, I want it to mean something, not just duty, not just a symbol. Zalendra turned to him. Then stay for me, not for the bond, not for the peace. No, stay because you choose to. He looked at her, really looked for the first time, not as a queen or an alien, but as a person. I don't know if I can give you forever yet, he said honestly, but I can start with now. Zalendra reached out and took his hand. Now is enough, she whispered, and in that moment, something between them began to change. The marriage may have started fake, but the feelings were becoming real. Peace between Earth and Zorala had lasted almost 6 months. Trade routes reopened. Scientists from both sides began working together. Human and Zoralan children even started studying in shared schools on space stations. But peace is like glass, beautiful, but fragile, and someone wanted to break it. Captain James Reeve stood on the balcony of the Zoralan Palace. Looking down at the capital city, flying transports moved between glowing towers. From this height, Everything looked calm. But his soldier's instincts said otherwise. Queen Zalendra joined him, dressed in her usual royal armor. She still looked every bit a ruler, strong and proud. But now her eyes softened when she looked at James. "There's tension in the air," she said. James nodded. "I feel it too. Something's coming." They were preparing to leave for the first Earth-Sarala Unity Summit, taking place on a floating starbase called Haven's Point. Leaders from both worlds would gather. It was supposed to be a celebration of peace, but James had learned that celebrations often attracted danger. 3 days later, the royal shuttle arrived at Haven's Point. The station floated above the gas giant Jovar, its glass windows giving a full view of the swirling blue clouds below. James stepped off the shuttle beside Zalendra. Human security guards and Zorlan warriors stood on both sides of the long hallway. Porters floated nearby in hovercams. Everyone smiled. But behind those smiles, secrets waited. Inside the grand chamber, Earth's president, Liana Pharaoh, greeted them with a warm handshake. "Queen Zalendra, Captain Reeve, it's good to see you both. The galaxy has changed because of you." Zalendra bowed her head. "Peace was born from war. We must protect it like a child." James gave a polite nod. "Let's hope others feel the same." That night, a grand dinner was held inside the station's garden dome. Tables floated between trees from Earth and Zorala. Artificial stars lit the ceiling. James wore a dark ceremonial suit, his Medal of Honor shining on his chest. Zalendra wore a royal silver robe. Together they looked like a power couple from legend. But while music played and diplomats danced, James noticed something strange. A Zoralan general named Tovik stood in the shadows, talking to a human ambassador, Senator Marnes. Their expressions were serious, their voices low. James moved closer, pretending to admire the flowers. His ear caught part of their words. "She's weakening our people," Tovik said. "Too much trust in aliens," Marnes replied. "We need control back. We can't let them blend us together." James's heart froze. Traitors on both sides. They didn't want peace. They wanted war. James returned to his room and activated a secure line to Loran, Queen Zalendra's advisor. "I heard something," James said. "Tovik and Marnes are planning something. We need to stop them." Loran's face was calm. "I had suspicions, but no proof. We can't wait for proof. Something bad is coming." Loran nodded. "I will alert the Queen." The next day, James stood beside Zalendra as she prepared for her main speech. All the leaders were seated. Cameras were live. Billions across the galaxy were watching. Zalendra stepped forward to speak. But just as she opened her mouth, James's eye caught a small red dot on her chest. Laser targeting sniper. He didn't think he acted. James lunged, knocked her down. A split second later, bang. The sniper beam hit the podium. Fire burst into the air. Screams echoed through the hall. Guards rushed in. James pulled Zalendra behind a marble pillar. "Are you hit?" he asked. "No," she gasped. "You saved me," sirens blared. The dome went into lockdown. Human and Zoralan forces pointed weapons at each other. "Stand down," James shouted. "Do not fire." The investigation began immediately. Security bots found the sniper drone hidden inside the ceiling vents. It had Earth tech, but Zoralan power parts. A setup. Someone wanted to make both sides blame each other that same night. James hacked into Senator Marnes' private logs using old soldier tricks. What he found shocked him. Messages, plans, hidden. Meetings. Evidence of a joint plot. Tovik and Marnes were working together. They believed peace made their people weak. They wanted to restart the war with Zalendra's death as the spark. James brought the proof to Queen Zalendra and President Pharaoh. The two traitors were arrested the next. Morning later, back in her private chamber, Zalendra stood in silence. "You saved my life," she said. James looked down. It was instinct. "No," she said softly. "It was care. It's real care." He looked at her. "You're not just a queen to me anymore." She turned to him slowly. "Then what am I?" He took a deep breath. "You're the strongest leader I've ever met, the bravest person I know. You're someone I could have fallen in love with, if this wasn't a fake marriage." Her silver eyes glowed gently. "Then why do you keep calling it fake?" James blinked. "'Cause it was ... wasn't it?" Zelindra stepped closer. "Not for me." She placed her hand on his chest. "Words may begin as duty, but actions show truth." James looked at her, face so proud, so full of feeling, and for the first time, he saw her not as an alien, not as a queen, but as a woman who had trusted him with everything. He leaned forward, almost without thinking. Their foreheads touched. Nothing more, but it meant everything. That night, James sat alone on the same balcony where he had once stood, unsure of his future. He knew now this was more than peace. This was a bond no bullet could break. But peace had enemies, and love could be dangerous. He would need to protect both with everything he had. Captain James Reeve had faced bullets, explosions, and space battles. He had led soldiers across moons and broken space stations. But now, standing in the royal chamber of Queen Zelindra, he felt a new kind of fear. She had asked for his heart, fully, honestly, forever. And he didn't know what to say. The assassination attempt at Haven's Point had changed everything. Queen Zelindra survived only because James jumped in front of the sniper beam. Enemies of peace had been caught. The world had seen James bleed for Zorella's queen. Now, he was more than a symbol. To the galaxy, he was a real consort, real king. But to James, the truth wasn't so simple. He still felt torn between two homes, two people, two lives. That night, Zelindra called him to the crystal chamber, deep inside the palace. The walls glowed soft blue. Water flowed through tiny silver canals. This was a sacred place, used only for personal matters. James entered silently. Zelindra stood beside the glowing pool, her back to him. She was wearing a dark robe instead of her usual armor. Her long white hair flowed like moonlight. "You've avoided me for 2 days," she said, without turning. "I needed time to think," James replied. She finally looked at him. "And what did you decide?" He took a slow breath. "I don't want to hurt you. You deserve someone who's sure. I want someone perfect," she said. "I want someone true." James stepped closer. "You want truth? Let's hear it. I care about you. More than I thought possible. But I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "Of losing myself, of losing Earth, my identity, my people." There was a long silence. Then Zelindra nodded. She walked to a nearby table and picked up a glowing scroll. "This is the Royal Continuation Pact," she said. "If you sign it, we become true life partners under Zorlan law. You become my equal ruler in title and soul." James stared at the scroll. "And if I don't?" She looked at him calm, but serious. "Then the bond ends. You return to Earth. No war begins. No anger. But peace will weaken. And so will I." James felt like the air had been knocked from his chest. "This is my ultimatum, James," she said quietly. "Not because I want to trap you, but because I need to know where you stand." That night, James couldn't sleep. He walked alone through the Zorlan gardens. How giant blue flowers glowed in the dark. Insects floated like stars. His mind was filled with memories. His first day on Zorala, his fake wedding to a queen, her saving him in a riot, him protecting her from a sniper, her hand in his, her eyes asking for trust. He remembered what Sergeant Leo had once asked him, "Do you care about her?" Back then he didn't know, but now, yes, deeply. But was it enough to stay forever? The next morning, he received a message from Earth. A hologram of President Lyanna Farrow appeared in his room. "Captain Reeve," she said kindly, "you've done more than anyone in history to bring peace, but many are concerned. You're too close to Zorella. Some fear you no longer represent Earth's interest." James's jaw tightened. "I've bled for Earth and Zorella. I've risked everything for peace." "I know," she said. "But politics is a delicate thing. We want you to return to Earth for a while. Give speeches. Reassure people." James understood the real meaning. They wanted to pull him away from Zalendra, from his growing connection to her. "Think carefully, James," President Pharaoh said. "We respect your choice, but you must make one soon." Later, Loran, the Queen's advisor, visited him in the training hall. "I heard about the pact," Loran said. "Do you know what it means?" "Lifelong rule, partnership, no turning back," yes, Loran said. "But it also means shared burden. If she fails, you fall too. If you fall, she does." James gave a small laugh, like marriage on earth. But with more politics, Loran smiled. "You laugh, but this is serious. The Queen does not open her heart easily. She has chosen you. You must ask why." James was silent. Loran stepped closer. "Because she does not see you as a symbol anymore. She sees you as her balance, her strength, her future." That evening, James stood on the highest tower of the palace. The wind was cold. Stars sparkled above him. He held the royal continuation pact in his hand. He looked down at the city below. At the world that once felt alien, but now felt strangely familiar. He whispered, "What are you afraid of, Reeve?" His heart answered, "Not of staying, but of never truly belonging." And then another voice inside him said, "You belong wherever your love lives." The next morning, Queen Zalendra sat in the crystal chamber. Alone, she didn't expect him to come, but the doors opened. James walked in dressed not as a soldier, not as a guest, but as something new. He wore traditional Zorlan, robes with Earth's metal pinned over his chest. In his hand was the signed scroll. "I choose you," he said, walking to her. "Not because I have to, because I want to." Zalendra didn't speak. Her eyes glistened. James continued, "I don't know what the future holds, but I want to face it with you. Not as a symbol, not as a guest, as your equal, as your partner." He dropped to one knee and looked up. She stepped forward, knelt beside him, touched his shoulder. "In front of the stars," she said softly, "I accept your vow." The next few days, the news spread across the galaxy. Captain Reeve signs. Lifelong pact with Queen Zalendra, now ruling partners of United Alliance from soldier to king. Human hero commits fully to peace and love, Earth and Zarella. Celebrate new era of shared rule, but the two people at the center of it all didn't care about headlines. They stood side by side on the palace balcony, watching children play below. Human and Zoo are allied together. "Are you ready for this life?" she asked. James smiled. "Only if you're in it." She leaned her head on his shoulder. He held her hand. The fake marriage had become a real bond, and the real bond had become something eternal. It had been 1 year since Captain James Reeve signed the Royal Continuation Pact. 1 year since he made his choice not just for peace, but for love. The people of Earth and Zaralla now called him King Consort James, but to Queen Zalendra, he was simply her partner, the man who stood beside her, not behind her, not above her. Together, they ruled with strength, patience, and hope. But ruling a galaxy wasn't easy. The Royal Council met every morning in the Grand Hall of Zorilla. On one side sat alien generals and noble houses. On the other side, human diplomats and Earth scientists. Between them stood Zalendra and James II, leaders from two worlds. Today's topic, Colony 47. A mixed human-Sorellan colony on the planet Kastari had gone silent. No messages, no cargo. Tact. Sabotage, growled General Karthak. "It's warned you, Queen. Mixing species in one colony causes conflict." James leaned forward. The colony was a symbol of unity. If someone is trying to destroy it, we need to protect it and not give up on it. "There are rumors," said Ambassador Wren from Earth. "A group calling themselves Pureblood Dawn is spreading lies, saying humans and Zorlons should never mix." Zalendra's voice was calm but firm. "We will not let fear destroy what we've built. James and I will go to Colony 47 ourselves." The room erupted in noise, protests, concerns, warnings, but the Queen and her consort had made their decision. The next day, the Dawn Spirit left Zorilla and jumped into hyperspace. It was crewed by both human and Zorlan officers, working. Together like family, James stood on the bridge, watching stars stretch into lines. Do you ever regret it? He asked softly. Zalendra looked at him. Regret what? Choosing me? Choosing this? She smiled. Not for 1 second. He reached for her hand. Good. Because I'm all in. Forever. Colony 47 looked peaceful from space lush green. Forests, small towns, wind turbines turning gently. But when the shuttle landed, the truth became clear. No one came to greet them. Streets were empty. Homes locked. Shops closed. James and Zalendra walked through the town square with armed guards. Behind them, a large banner hung from a building. Pure blood dawn, one race, one world. James felt a chill. They've already taken over. A young human boy suddenly ran from an alley and stopped in front of them, panting. You shouldn't be here. He whispered, they're watching everything. Please, leave. Zalendra knelt beside him. Where are your parents hiding? They hid me too. Please, they'll come for you. Just then, a sharp sound echoed through the square. Da-da, screeched an alarm. And then came the message over loudspeakers. The fake queen and her human pet have arrived. Lock down the town. Capture them alive. The boy screamed. James grabbed him and pulled him behind a pillar. Guards rushed in. Shots rang out. Smoke bombs filled the air. James pulled out his blaster and covered Zalendra. Go, I'll hold them. No, she shouted, we fight together. He ran down a back street, avoiding the rebels. Few guards fell, but many held the line. The royal couple escaped into the underground tunnels built beneath the colony. Deep in the tunnels, they met a small group of mixed-species families. Humans and Zorolans huddled together, afraid but strong. We didn't want this, a Zorolan. Mother said we just wanted peace. We'll protect you, James promised. But we need your help. Show us where they're hiding. With their help, James and Zalendra found the rebel base hidden in an old power station, together with their guards. They launched a surprise attack. The battle was fast but intense. James moved like the soldier he once was, covering allies. Breaking down doors, protecting civilians, Zalendra stood tall with her energy blade, blocking attacks and giving commands. Finally, the rebel leader was captured. A human man with red eyes and a twisted smile. You betrayed your own kind, he spat at James. No, James said calmly. I protected both, the leader laughed. You think peace will last? You think love can fix thousands of years of hate? James stepped closer. I don't need to fix everything in one day. I just need to keep building. Back on the ship, after the mission ended, the colony returned to order. Flags of peace flew again. Human and Zorolan families came out of hiding and thanked their queen and consort. That night, James stood on the ship's observation deck, watching the stars. Zalendra joined him. You were amazing today, she said. You too, James replied. You always are. There was silence. Then Zalendra smiled gently. I have news, she said. He looked at her, curious. I'm carrying our child. James froze. Our child. Zalendra nodded. It's the first of both worlds, our blood. Future. James felt his heart stop, then beat faster than ever. A mix of joy, shock, and pure love flooded him. A child, he whispered. You're serious? She took his hand and placed it on her belly. I would not lie to you. James swallowed hard. That means it's really happening. We're not just symbols anymore. We're family. She smiled. Yes, and soon the galaxy will see what unity truly means. James laughed softly, tears in his eyes. I've survived wars, assassins, and politics. But now, I need to survive parenthood. She laughed too and leaned on his shoulder. Months passed. Back on Zorla, the people celebrated the coming of the royal child. Both Earth and Zorala began planning new schools, shared colonies, and cultural festivals. Tension still existed, but hope was stronger now. The image of a human man holding hands with an alien queen, both smiling, became a symbol of the new age then. One bright morning, the baby was born. A girl. Her skin was light purple with small freckles like stars. Her eyes were silver blue. She had her mother's calm and her father's warmth. The royal court cried in joy. Zelindra named her Solara, which meant Bridge of Worlds in the Zoralan tongue. James held his daughter and whispered, "You are proof that peace is possible." Years later, when Solara was old enough to speak, she stood before a gathering of Earth and Zoralan children. With her small voice, she said, "My father is from Earth. My mother is from Zorala. I am both. I am not half. I am whole. We are not enemies. We are not strangers. We are family." The crowd clapped, not just for her, but for the future. James stood beside Zelindra, watching their daughter speak, his heart full. Once he had agreed to a fake marriage just to end a war. Now he was living a real life, full of purpose, love, and unity, and he wouldn't change a single moment of it.